For those of you that have been hearing us before, and this is nothing new, because there is nothing new, but we hope that you will hear it with new ears, a new attention, because it is of vital importance. And the message principally is to remember that you are not these bodies, not the vehicle, and you are spiritual beings, beings of light, as part of the light of the universe. And we are all one, and we know those things. But the message is coming through now powerfully to truly experience it and practice it. And it has come to our attention that part of the problem is thoughts. And our minds in these physical bodies are incessant, which means they never stop. And we are constantly thinking and not even aware of a fraction of what we think about. And that means the mind is going and going and going and going. And we do not equate the mind with the brain. The brain is part of the vehicle. The mind is an aspect of the soul, the spirit. But the mind has forgotten itself, for the most part, and has identified with the vehicle it is in now and has been in other lives. It identifies with its name, with the form, the color of its eyes, what work it does, all those things, its relationships. And so it goes around and around and around thinking about so many things. And most of those things, if we put our hands on our hearts and are honest, most of those things that the mind is thinking about all day long in our ordinary lives are not very elevated. Not that they're bad. Sometimes they are, but they're not elevated. We're thinking about, I gotta get something to eat. I gotta get home to water the yard. I have to feed my kids. I have to go to work, and I have to do this, and then I have to do that, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. All day long, even when we sleep. And what happens is those thoughts are now habits and are very difficult to break. It's very difficult to quiet the mind. And I can feel the energy active in some of you, even when you're trying to quiet the mind. And one, it's lack of practice. Two, it's habits. So the way to look at those thoughts is like if you are as old as this body, remember the LPs or the records? Anybody remember those? They had grooves, didn't they? And the grooves are imprints, let's say, on the soul, on I, the soul. And as we experience ourselves in these physical bodies, and if you believe in more than one life, then those grooves are pretty darn deep. And those thoughts go around and around and around and around, and it's like, stop. It's hard, isn't it? To stop. And we have bad habits, not only with our bodies, but in what we think about. I would like you just to be quiet for 1 minute or 30 seconds and watch those thoughts go by. Just watch them. Don't stop them. Don't judge them. Don't do anything. Just watch. Close your eyes and watch. What are you thinking about? You know what I mean? The way to stop those, anytime there's that needle on those grooves, and we're that self-talk, which also can be negative, isn't it? And those are habits of the mind and what it thinks about and how it reacts. It reacts out of fear, out of habit. It reacts in suffering, out of habit. It thinks I have to get sick, out of habit. And if so-and-so says this to me, then boom, I react in this way. And if I need to pay something that I wasn't expecting, boom, I react in a different way. And they're just reactions, which are part of those grooves in the record of the soul. They're not conscious reactions or actions. And in order to break that album or that record and start being more elevated, we need an external, powerful force. Because we've tried to do it on our own, haven't we? And it hasn't been successful. At least not as high as we wish we would be. But it's kind of a catch-22. Because in order to allow an external force, a force of power and light to say, change, and lift that needle off the record and put it aside and start good habits, good thoughts, elevated thoughts, spiritual thoughts. We have to be able to quiet the mind to make that connection. We have to remember who we are to make that connection. And those thoughts going around and around and around and around keep us grounded in these bodies, on this planet, and we think this is it. This is reality. But you know it's not. Part of you knows it's not. But we get absorbed into it by those thoughts, those bad habits. And it's very few who actually manage to get out of that and to live in a physical form as spiritual beings 100% of the time. It's very hard to do, but not impossible.